Welcome to Vantage Points, a program designed to explore issues and topics of local interest. And now, here's the host of Vantage Points, Calvin Carter.
We continue now with part two of a two-part interview with Drew Crandall, president of the Rockville Downtown Association.
But the millennials aren't impressed with owning real estate the way the boomers are. They saw the housing crash in the late 2000s, and buying a house and staying in a house isn't necessarily the financial investment it used to be, and the job security isn't there, where millennials have a different mindset about their long-term life plan, where they're looking at many more job changes throughout their career, which may necessitate them moving from one place to another. So it really makes sense that millennials would fill Loom City lofts. Also, the millennials are not impressed with having to drive a car everywhere the way many boomers have been. So they want more urban environments where they don't have to get in a car to go to the store or to go to experience a concert or an athletic event. So we're seeing this across the country, not just in Rockville. We're seeing it in Hartford and New Haven and across the country. Millennials not buying homes, but instead living in nice apartment complexes in more urban environments. It just fits their mindset and their lifestyle preferences much more closely.
As downtowns improve and grow, a lot of jobs are created. Some of those jobs are in the service industry, and a lot of service industry jobs are not very well paying. Is there a move to create affordable housing in Rockville?
Yes. As a matter of fact, the Loom City Lofts is plugged into that through the state of Connecticut, various agencies there. A good number of the apartments in Loom City Lofts turned out to be affordable housing units versus completely fair market apartments. So the state of Connecticut has made affordable housing a priority in recent years, and it really makes a lot of sense because Connecticut, compared to other states across the country, we're in one of the most expensive places to live. And so if we want our young people to stay in the state and build their lives and their careers here, but they can't afford to live here, then those two objectives contradict each other. So it makes a whole lot of sense to make housing more affordable for millennials so they can stay here, especially as the baby boomer generation ages and heads into retirement. There are a lot of opportunities for millennials and other younger people to step into those jobs and really live lives here long term.
Are there many open storefronts in the area for businesses to move into?
There are a few in downtown Rockville. Rockville really doesn't have a very strong retail footprint. It's not to say it couldn't in the future, but you compared to the rest of Vernon, for example, obviously you have Vernon with Route 83 and Route 30. There's a much bigger retail presence within the larger town of Vernon. And of course, right over the border, we have Manchester, which is probably the largest retail hub in all of Connecticut. So there are some spaces for boutique shops, which is really what the Main Street programs tend to attract. You're not generally going to attract a big box retailer into these historic districts. It's going to be more of a boutique shop, more creative entrepreneurs who have a dream to open up their own little shop and offer products and services that may not be available in the big box stores. So there is potential there, Calvin, for Rockville, but a lot of work needs to be done to really beef up the retail opportunities in downtown Rockville. One of the examples here with Main Street programs that we are actually collaborating with quite closely is the town of Putnam, Connecticut. It's a similar situation where it's a smaller industrial textile mill city from 100 years ago. What they have done in their their center of town is really exciting. My wife and I just went over there again this past Sunday afternoon after church, and they have a very interesting little retail district that they've been building. And along with retailing comes the restaurant industry, and they have been able to attract and sustain some very nice restaurants right in this retail district in Putnam with outdoor cafes and live music. It's really delightful. They turned the old train station into a nice brew pub. So there are opportunities for Rockville not only to beef up its retail industry, but also its restaurant opportunities for local people in Tolland and Vernon and Ellington to come into downtown Rockville to dine and have a nice meal in this urban environment.
I mentioned the town of Bellefonte earlier from Pennsylvania, and one of the developments that they have undertaken in the middle of their town, an area that had been kind of blighted over the years, is a new facility that incorporates loft apartments, business fronts, and restaurants. Is the mill redevelopment in Rockville incorporating any mixed use?
Yes. As a matter of fact, with the Hockenham Mill, which is being transformed into the New England Motorcycle Museum, there is a plan to open up a new motorcycle-themed restaurant right in the complex where Shepherd's Supply used to be located. And there is an opportunity for other properties in Rockville to either be renovated into multi-use, or conceivably there are opportunities to actually tear down some of the structures that aren't necessarily historically significant or financially feasible to repurpose and build some new buildings within Rockville that are architecturally compatible with the historic nature of the downtown district. So the answer to your question is yes. One of the things that's percolating, as a matter of fact, just last week, their site work began for what used to be called Ammerbell, and they're in site remediation mode. You know, there's pollution from the mill operating for years, and there are some buildings that have to be torn down because they can't be repurposed or they're unsafe. But now that we're seeing Loom City Lofts up and running, and we're seeing major progress on the Hockenham Mill, the next big mill in town that is on the radar screen is the Ammerbell Mill. And God willing, 5-10 years from now, you're going to see that Ammerbell property just transformed into what appears at this point to be a largely commercial enterprise bringing many local jobs to Rockville.
How do you encourage businesses to move into locations like this? Do you promote the availability of an educated workforce?
That's part of it. In surveying through our executive roundtables, we've surveyed the local employers. What's your view of the local job market and the kinds of candidates that walk in your door? And the feedback we get is that Rockville historically has had a very strong work ethic. When you look back to the immigrants who came from various countries to work in the mills, and you think back when we had 13 mills along the Hockenham River humming with activity, manufacturing products that were literally sold and used around the world. From a cultural standpoint, there's still a vestige of that strong textile mill city work ethic that still exists here in the culture of Rockville and surrounding towns. And so we do have an opportunity to build our employment base here. Obviously, people need to be trained, and it doesn't mean that everybody who lives in Rockville and surrounding towns have a good, strong work ethic, but we have enough of a historical, cultural work ethic base here that the feedback I get is that it's a foundation that can truly be built upon. We also are blessed with being about a mile from I-84, exit 67. So from a standpoint of attracting employees from surrounding towns, the infrastructure is in place for people to conveniently commute to Rockville for jobs if they choose not to live actually in Rockville. And our access to UConn and Manchester Community College and Asnuntuck Community College and Enfield, we have access to great educational facilities that are equipping young people and adults for jobs that are coming up in the future.
Well, Rockville Downtown Association sounds like a very vibrant organization. Do you advocate for legislation at the local and state level?
Government relations is on our radar screen to answer your question. Yes, there's been some of that these past 16 years, but I think we really have a much more vibrant role that we can play in government relations, both locally and in working with state government and federal government, to be able to be aware of opportunities and resources that are available and maximize the value of those resources and leverage them for the benefit of downtown Rockville. For example, in recent months, I've met with the Connecticut Main Street program officials, with the Connecticut Economic Resource Center in Rocky Hill. We have ongoing collaborations with the Department of Economic and Community Development. We're reaching out to state and federal officials, letting them know of these positive things that are happening in RDA and in Rockville. And I believe as time goes by, there will be synergy there, and we'll have an opportunity to communicate all the benefits of Rockville to these various influencers who can help us to accomplish what we want to accomplish.
How often does the association meet?
We have bi-monthly board meetings, and then we have the quarterly think tanks, and the tours are going to be taking place periodically. We have a tour of Anacoil in downtown Rockville, which is the largest manufacturing company in downtown Rockville. The owner and president of Anacoil is going to be giving RDA members a guided tour of Anacoil. And then we have a tour in October of Opportunity Works, which is also in downtown Rockville. So we have tours probably over the course of a year, maybe 6 of them. And then we have these networking events. So we altogether, I would guess off the top of my head, we have about maybe 15 to 20 different activities where people get together in the coming year.
If someone who is listening to the program is interested in attending one of the networking events, how would they do that?
They should visit our website, rdact.com. We are going to be transforming that website. We're gradually changing some of the ways we're communicating. We've beefed up our email communication, and then one of the next steps will be beefing up our website. But the website still has the good basic information, who, what, where, why, when, how. So they can visit rdact.com.
Great. Drew Crandall, president of the Rockville Downtown Association. Thank you so very much for coming on the program to talk about this.
You're very welcome. It's very exciting.
And Drew, can you give our listeners that web address one more time?
Sure, rdact.com.
Great. Drew, again, thank you so much.
You bet. Have a great day. Thanks for the opportunity.
If you are aware of a need, interest, or concern of the Vernon-Hartford area, please contact me at ccarter@familyradio.org. That's ccarter@familyradio.org. To learn more about Family Radio, a beacon of truth and hope to the people of this world and our many wonderful resources, please go to www.familyradio.org or call us toll-free 1-800-543-1495.
This has been Vantage Points, a discussion of topics of local interest. The opinions expressed on Vantage Points do not necessarily represent the views and opinions of Family Stations Incorporated. Join us again next week for another edition of Vantage Points.